If you are an NRI today, whether working in the US, UK, Middle East, or anywhere in the world, you have probably asked yourself this question at least once. Can I retire early, say by 50 or 55, and live comfortably in India for the rest of my life without worrying too much about money ever again? Imagine this. There is no boss, no 9 to 5 grind, no stress about bills. Instead, you have built such a large retirement corpus that you can withdraw money every single month for your lifestyle expenses in India. And moreover, give yourself an annual increment to beat that inflation. And still make sure that your corpus never runs out during your lifetime. In fact, it grows so much that even your next generation can reap benefits out of it. And the best part, this is not a dream. I'm not here to give any vague gyan or unrealistic promises. That's not what I do on this channel. I'm going to show you a real practical plan with exact SIP numbers, inflation adjusted retirement corpus targets, and a clear SWP strategies that works for NRIs. So stay with me till the very end. Let's dive in. So what is retiring by 45, 50, 55, whatever retirement age you decide to retire by exactly means for an NRI? See, retiring early means different for different people. So let's say you're 25 today and want to retire by 55. So you have exactly 30 years to invest and build your retirement corpus. Similarly, if you're 30 today, you have 25 years. So as an NRI, there is one extra decision you need to make: where you want to retire. So if you plan to settle back in India, you will need to build your retirement corpus in INR. And if you plan to stay abroad long term, so in that case, your retirement goal should be in the foreign currency where you live, like US dollar, pounds, dirhams, whatever. And also you'll have to plan for that INR depreciation against those currencies. For this video, let's assume you eventually want to retire in India, because that's the most common choice for NRIs, including me. So I've created this spreadsheet where we can input certain data points like your current age, your target retirement age, expected inflation, expected returns pre-retirement, expected returns post-retirement, SWP safe withdrawal rate, step-up SIP if you choose to, foreign exchange currency conversion rate. So all in all, this spreadsheet basically allows you to input your personal data, your personal circumstances, your expected returns, your expected inflation, whatever you want to do based on your personal circumstances. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to take you through 3 different examples across 3 different age brackets. Okay, so let's say someone who is age 25 today. Similarly, there's another person who is age 30 today. And there's another person 3, who is age 35 today. Okay, and they all choose to retire at the age of 50. Okay, so let's say 50 is the target retirement age for all 3 of them, just to keep that consistency. Nothing is hard and fast here. Okay, I'm just playing with some numbers. So let's say the present monthly expenses of a 25-year-old today is 30,000 rupees. So all figures default to INR. So you can use foreign exchange currency conversion rate here. So for example, 1 USD is equal to 85 INR. So you can input 85 here. Okay, so depending on whichever foreign currency you want to play with. I am taking 3 examples here. The first example is of someone who is aged 25, whose currently monthly expenses is 30,000 rupees. He wants to retire at 50. So technically, how many years he's got to build his retirement corpus? It's 25 years. So one thing to note here is that all the cells that you see in yellow are the cells where you can input your data. Rest of the cells will auto-populate based on whatever data you have inputted here in these yellow cells. Okay, so be really careful of what you are putting in these yellow cells if you're using the spreadsheet. So far, we have inputted our age, present monthly expenses, target retirement age. Okay, based on that, it has given us total number of years to retire. Very simple till this point. Yeah. So coming to this section of the spreadsheet. So this is the prerequisite before we can play with any numbers. We have to first come here and input our data. Okay. So let's say inflation that I'm expecting is 6%. Expected returns pre-retirement. So over here, I'm taking an assumption that while building my retirement corpus, I'm investing in products that can fetch me a post-tax return of 12%. It's completely your choice. If you think 12% is too high to expect, then you can put 10%, whatever you feel like. Yeah. So I'm putting 12% just for this example. So expected returns post-retirement, I'm taking as 10%. That means after I have achieved my retirement corpus, I will be investing that retirement corpus somewhere, right? Now, wherever I choose to invest that retirement corpus, let's say in a SWP fund, okay, that fund is giving me an annual returns of 10%. We are keeping it very conservative here for now. Okay. Now, safe withdrawal rate for a normal fire, it's usually considered as 4%. Okay. Now, what is safe withdrawal rate? Safe withdrawal rate means how much can you withdraw safely from your retirement corpus such that you do not run out of your money. Such that you do not run out of your corpus, okay, and your corpus lasts long for at least 40 to 45 years after you have retired. So that's a standard safe withdrawal rule which usually people recommend for a normal fire of 4%. So let's consider that. If you think again it's not for you, you think it can be 3% or 5%, you can come here and customize it based on your selections. Step up SIP, I'm assuming you're not stepping up your SIPs, you're just keeping it at 0%. Okay, which means to build your retirement corpus, you will be doing normal SIPs only. Now, last optional bit you can update here is the foreign exchange currency conversion. If you want to do it, you can do it here. So for example, I've kept it at 85, which signifies $1 is equal to 85 INR. Let's go to second example where someone, let's say who is 30 today, has got a present monthly expense of 40,000 and he or she wants to retire at 50 again. So they've got 20 years to retire. Or you can also say they've got 20 years to invest and build your retirement corpus. Yeah. Third example is someone who is 35 today and they want to retire at 50. The current present monthly expenses is 50,000 rupees and they have around 15 years to retire. Yeah. Plain and simple till this point. Now, what is this inflated monthly expense at retirement here? So here I'm applying a 6% annual inflation. So this is where we have applied 6% inflation, right? So this is what your post-retirement expenses will be at the time of retirement. Okay. So today's 30,000 will be equal to 1,28,756 rupees by the time you turn 50. That is after 25 years. Yeah. So today I'm 25. My expense is 30,000. By the time I turn 50, this 30,000 expense will become 1,28,000 of that time. Okay, so we are accounting for inflation here basically. Similarly, for someone who's 30-year-old, present expenses was 40,000. Post-retirement expenses inflation adjusted will be 1,28,285. And for the 35-year-old, present expenses were taken as 50,000 and post-retirement inflation adjusted expenses will become 1,19,000. These are the monthly expenses post-retirement. Now the next data point we are capturing here is inflated annual expense at retirement. Okay, so this is 12 times of your monthly expenses. So your annual expenses post-retirement becomes, for example, 15,45,000, and for the 30-year-old, the inflated annual expenses becomes 15,39,000, and for the 35-year-old, the expense becomes post-retirement annual expense becomes 14,37,000. Okay, so I hope it's clear till this point. Let's talk about the FIRE targets. Okay, so FIRE here stands for financially independent and retire early. Usually I like to skip the RE part of the FIRE. Personally, I would like to focus more on becoming financially independent, not so much about retiring early. I don't want to retire at 45 and then do nothing for the rest of my life, just travel the world, which is great, but is it practical for me? No, I don't think so. I would still like to continue working, but do things which I really love doing rather than do which I just have to do for the sake of money. I just want to get off that 9-to-5 grind. Just do things which I love doing. Like I love doing music. I love making these videos. I love teaching people. I love educating. So these are my passions. So this is how I've personally conceived the concept of FIRE. I necessarily don't want to retire early, but I want to become financially free. That's more important. Yeah. So based on our own situation, our own circumstances, our own priorities, we can make our own FIRE targets here. So FIRE isn't just one size fit all. Globally, there are different FIRE strategies depending on the kind of lifestyle you want after your retirement. Yeah. So let's say lean FIRE. Okay. So lean FIRE means you can retire with just 15x of your annual expenses. This is great for those who want a minimalistic lifestyle after their retirement, basically cutting costs to the bone. So example, if your expenses are, let's say 20 lakh a year. Okay. So a lean FIRE means you need about 3 crore to retire. Next is normal FIRE. So normal FIRE is the classic version of the FIRE. Okay. Which means 25x of your annual expenses. So this is what that 4% rule is based on. Okay, so for the 20 lakh annual expenses, let's say my annual expenses today is 20 lakh rupees. So I would need a target of about 5 crore, which is 25x of my current annual expenses. Now there's another concept called fat FIRE. Fat FIRE is for those who don't want any compromises. They want a luxury lifestyle after their retirement. To achieve that, typically you would need around 30x of your current annual expenses. For the same example, you will need about 6 crore of total retirement corpus. So as an NRI, we need to ask ourselves, do I want a lean FIRE, normal FIRE, fat FIRE? So once we have figured out the answer to that question, this way we can keep our Indian math intact in terms of crores, if you want to retire in India, of course. So just before I proceed, if you're interested to use this calculator and want to run your own calculations, you can check out the link to access this calculator in the description. So coming back to these examples, the FIRE targets that we are considering here is lean FIRE of 15x of expenses, normal FIRE and fat FIRE. Based on these calculations, the annual inflation adjusted expenses at retirement, for example 1, was around 15,45,000. So based on that, the lean FIRE target is coming about 2.31 crores. Yeah. Normal fire, which is 25x of your expenses, is coming about 3.86 crores. And the fat fire, which is 30x of your expenses, is coming about 4.63 crores. Okay. Which means you will have to achieve your corpus goals within the next 25 years. If you are 25 today and you want to retire at 50, you will need to basically make sure that you are targeting for these amounts to become financially independent in the next 25 years. So now once we have figured out our fire targets, what's the next step? We have to build a strategy to achieve our fire targets, right? How we can achieve that strategy? Through investments. Now, since in this video we're discussing about retiring in India, now to build your retirement corpus, regardless of where you're earning from, clearly as an NRI will be earning in foreign currency. Yeah. Let's assume that you're investing in Indian mutual funds or even in foreign equities, doesn't matter. Okay. What we're trying to evaluate here is how much SIP do you need on a monthly basis to get to your retirement corpus goal, regardless of where you're investing, which product you're investing. The only assumption I've taken here is whichever product you have invested in, that is giving you a return of 12%. So based on 12% returns, as you can see, assumed annual return pre-retirement is 12% here. Okay. Which has been captured from here. Based on that, your monthly return that you will make out of your investments will be 1%. Months to retire in numbers will be 300. Yeah. So the exact SIP amount that you need to invest every single month to get to your lean fire target corpus will be 12,235 rupees per month. That means if you keep investing 12,335 even without stepping up, you'll be able to reach your lean fire target corpus goal of 2.31 crores. Similarly, if you want to hit your normal fire goal of 3.86 crores, which we have figured out in the previous step, the exact SIP that you need for that will be 20,559 rupees. Okay. And for fat fire, the exact SIP will be 24,671 rupees. Okay. So SIP stands for systematic investment plan. Okay. So let's say if you are systematically investing in any mutual fund in India or any product wherever you want to. Okay. So you have to keep investing these amounts per month. Even without stepping up, you will be able to reach your target retirement corpus goals, whatever fire targets you have thought for yourself. Okay. Now, if you feel that these amounts are pretty high for you and you are comfortable to step up your SIPs annually, and just assuming that you are stepping up by 4% annually, so your monthly step up comes to about 0.33%. So SIP that you will need for your lean fire will be just 9,104 rupees as opposed to 12,235 without stepping up. So stepping up can make such a big difference, as we can see here. Just by 4% step up, your monthly SIP commitments will gradually come down. SIP for normal fire with step up will be about 15,174 and SIP for fat fire with step up will be about 18,208 rupees. Next section of the spreadsheet is basically giving you a preview of your SWPs. Don't worry, I'll be doing more deep dive around these SWP numbers. Exactly how much can you withdraw once you have established your retirement corpus and you start withdrawing. And the last section is mirroring in your currency. So as I said earlier, if you're putting a forex rate of let's say 85, so this is just converting your INR into your foreign currency. Okay. Now coming to the second example, someone who's aged 30 and with present expenses of 40,000, target retirement age of 50 years. So they have 20 years to invest and retire. Inflated monthly expenses at retirement at 6% is coming about 1,28,285. That means 40,000 of today will be equal to 1,28,000 after 20 years. Inflated annual expenses becomes around 15,39,000. So for the 30-year-old today who want to retire at 50, the lean fire target amount becomes around 2.3 crores. Normal fire target will become around 3.84 crores and fat fire will become about 4.61 crores. SIP needed without stepping up, again assuming an annual return of 12% here. So SIP for lean fire is coming about 23,342 rupees per month. For normal fire, it will be 38,904 and for fat fire, it will be about 46,684 rupees. And if you decide to step up at even 4% annually, so you will just need 17,850 rupees per month with that 4% step up SIP. And for normal fire, it will be 29,750 and for fat fire with step up will be 35,700 rupees. SWP preview, okay, don't worry about that for now. I'm going to cover that in the later part of the video, so please stay tuned. And then third example that we have taken is for someone who's 35-year-old today and want to retire at 50. They have got 15 years to basically invest and build their corpus. We're assuming a monthly expense of 50,000 rupees as of today. So after 15 years, their inflation adjusted monthly expenses will become around 1,19,000, and inflation adjusted annual expenses at retirement will become around 14,37,000. So if they decide to go for a lean fire, they will have to build a total corpus of 2.1 crore. If they want to go for a normal fire, they will have to build a corpus of 3.59 crores approx. And if they want to go for a fat fire, they would need a corpus of about 4.31 CR. Okay. Now talking about the SIPs, again 12% expected returns. SIP for lean fire is coming about 43,174. SIP for normal fire is 71,957, and SIP for fat fire is coming about 86,349. So clear the SIP amount is much higher compared to the other two examples, simply because they have less time to invest and build their corpus as opposed to someone who is just 25 or 30 years today. So clearly they have more time to invest. So the more time you get to invest, the less SIP is what you need to contribute every single month. So time makes such a big difference in compounding. Let's say if you decide to step up, then your monthly SIP contribution will come down significantly. So now for lean fire, you will need to contribute around 34,585 per month with step up. For normal fire, you will need to contribute around 57,642, and for fat fire, you will need to contribute around 69,170 rupees per month. Again, if you're interested to use this spreadsheet, I've provided the link in the description. So as I said earlier, we have to strategize our retirement into two parts. Part one is all about figuring out your fire targets like lean fire, normal fire or fat fire, whichever fire target you want to go for, and then start building towards that retirement corpus goal through monthly SIPs. So we have already established how much fire targets we need for all these three examples. And then we've also understood that how much exact monthly SIP is required to achieve that fire target. The next step is about withdrawing that money from your corpus in a systematic way. And that is done through something called as SWP, that stands for Systematic Withdrawal Plan. So stage 1 was all about building your corpus, and now stage 2 is about enjoying that corpus safely. So coming back to those three examples we had taken in that spreadsheet. So for someone who is 25 today and wanted to retire at 50, their current monthly expenses we had taken into consideration was 30,000 rupees per month. And let's assume he went for a normal fire. Okay, so his normal fire amount came to about 3.86 crores. Which means he's managed to accumulate his retirement corpus of 3.86 crores through systematic investment plans, which we had already covered in the previous section. So in the same example, his inflation adjusted monthly expenses at retirement was 1,28,000. So these are the two numbers you need to keep in mind. First is how much retirement corpus he has achieved, and the second is how much monthly withdrawal will he start making after his retirement, which will be inflation adjusted. So I'm going to come here and enter his initial investment amount, which is nothing but his retirement target corpus goal, which is managed to achieve through SIPs. So let's say he's 50 now and he's accumulated a total corpus of 3 crore 86 lakh rupees. 3 crore 86 lakhs. Okay. So from our calculations, the monthly expense that he needs at the time of retirement is 1,28,756 rupees. So 1,28,756 is the amount I'm going to enter here, which is going to be his SWP monthly withdrawal amount. Okay, so this is the amount that he wants to start withdrawing every single month once he has achieved his retirement corpus goal of 3.86 crores. Hold investment or defer withdrawal for, we are going to leave that as 0 years because he is not going to defer his retirement. He wants to start withdrawing immediately after his retirement. Next is duration. So let's put it 40 years. So he is retiring at 50. So he wants to continue withdrawing money till he turns 90. Or let's say 45. Let's say he wants to keep enjoying money from his corpus till he becomes 95-year-old. Next is expected rate of returns. That means once you have established your corpus, you're going to invest that corpus somewhere, right? That is going to give you some returns. So technically, it's not a good idea to park all your retirement corpus just in one product and depending completely on that. So for that, there is a 3-bucket strategy that I personally recommend, but I'm going to cover that in a separate video. Otherwise, this video is going to become too long. But for the sake of this example, let's assume the post-retirement returns that he gets on his investments is around 10% yearly. Okay, we are not going too far aggressive or too conservative. Let's keep it 10% as a balanced returns. So I'm going to put 10% here. So next, there are some advanced options to select, like rate of return or rate of inflation. So again, we don't know what the rate of tax is going to be after 20-25 years. So as of now, the long-term capital gain tax on equity mutual funds is about 12.5% on any gains that you make over 1.25 lakhs in a tax year. So for this example, we're just going to assume 12.5% as of now. Okay. Rate of inflation is going to be 6%. Now this is very important. So what we are stating here is that the person is going to start withdrawing 1,28,756 from his retirement corpus from the first year itself. But do we really want to keep this amount stagnant throughout the course of 45 years? Of course not, because we have to factor in for inflation as well, right? So let's say the inflation is growing at 6% annually. So I would want to give myself a 6% annual raise on my SWP as well, so that I'm counterbalancing the inflation as well. So I've just hit calculate now, and let's look at the results. So I had a starting investment amount of 3.86 crores. The first SWP that we had withdrawn from that corpus was 1,28,000. Last SWP, inflation adjusted at 6%, was 17,72,276 rupees. Duration was 45 years. Rate of return was 10%. Total withdrawal that I would have taken from my corpus was 33 crore 3,47,566 rupees. This is the power of compounding, guys. That means the total profit I would have made over 45 years would have been a whopping 71 crore 86 lakh 1,899 rupees. And my corpus would have easily lasted for 45 years till 2070. And this is where the real magic is. The closing corpus balance is not zero. That means you haven't exhausted your funds even in 45 years. The closing corpus balance would still be of about 42 crore 68 lakh 54,333. That means you would have happily enjoyed your corpus with a 6% increment on your SWP every single month for the next 45 years. In spite of that, your corpus wouldn't have run out of money. In fact, your closing corpus is still of about 42 crores. That means even your future generations can enjoy this corpus after you have gone. Even if you consider for taxes, again, I've just taken 12.5% as the tax. We don't know what the long-term capital gain tax is going to be at that point in time. But just considering our figures, taxes during SWP comes to about 34 lakh 41,000, and tax on final redemption is about 4 crore 85 lakh 31,791. So in spite of considering for long-term capital gain tax and tax on final redemption, you're still left with a very healthy corpus at the end of 45 years. So this is the magic of SWP. The only prerequisite is that you need to start as early as possible. You need to figure out your FIRE targets. Then you have to start systematic investing through SIPs to meet your target retirement corpus. So once you have checked all these three boxes, next step is very simple. You just park your retirement corpus in a relatively safer assets, which can give you a conservative return of at least 10 to 12%, and then simply reap benefits for the rest of your life. I'm going to cover my 3-bucket SWP strategy in some other video. These are the results for our first example for someone who was 25-year-old and wanted to retire at 50. Now quickly we'll check results for the other two examples as well. So the next one was 30-year-old who wanted to retire at 50, whose current monthly expenses was 40,000 rupees per month, and inflation adjusted monthly expenses at retirement was 1,28,285. So I think more or less the figures is going to be same. And for him to achieve a normal FIRE, his target corpus amount was 3 crore 84,000. So there's not much of a difference here. So if we just put 3 crore 84,000 here, and monthly expenses at retirement for him inflation adjusted was 1,28,285. So I'm just going to change certain numbers here. I don't think there's going to be much difference in the results. Rest of the data is going to be same. So there is not much of a difference between the two scenarios. So his corpus is also easily lasting for 45 years. And his closing corpus balance at the end of 45 years is going to be a whopping 42 crore rupees. Now let's take the final example of someone who's 35-year-old and was retiring at 50. His present monthly expenses we have taken into account is 50,000 rupees per month. So his inflation adjusted monthly expense at retirement becomes 1,19,828. So I'm just going to put here 1,19,828. So we can play with different numbers here depending on your circumstances. You can come and just run your own numbers. And as per our spreadsheet calculations, his normal FIRE target corpus was coming about 3.59 crores. Let's say 3.6 crores. I'm just going to come here and change the figures. So that becomes 3 crore 60 lakhs as his initial investment amount. We are not deferring the withdrawals. SWP or monthly withdrawal amount is going to be 1,19,828. for next 45 years. Expected rate of return we have assumed is 10% annually. Rate of tax is 12.5% and 6% is the inflation. That means we are going to annually increment our monthly withdrawal by 6% every single year. If I run the calculations here, we can see again, first withdrawal was 1,19,000. Last SWP with 6% inflation would be 16,49,000. Duration was 45 years. Total withdrawal that he would have done in 45 years would be about 30 crore 74 lakhs. Total profit he would have made on his investment would be 67 crore 42 lakhs 76,336. Corpus is easily lasting for 45 years, and the closing balance is a whopping 40 crore 28 lakh 35,223. And then the tax on capital gains, taxes during SW is coming about 32 lakhs, and tax on final redemption we have taken into account is 4 crore 58 lakhs. If I quickly show you the growth table, you can see here the starting withdrawal amount was 1,19,828. He starts withdrawing that amount for the next 1 year, and then we can see in July 2026 he increased his withdrawal by 6%. So now he's not withdrawing 1,19,000 anymore. He starts withdrawing 1,27,000 from year 2 onwards, and similarly he keeps withdrawing the same amount for another 12 months, and then when he comes to July 2027 year 3, he again increases his withdrawal amount by another 6%. So like how you get salary increments on your job, he's giving salary increment to himself through SWPs. This is the only difference here, right? And if you go right to the bottom, we can see by the time he gets to year 2069, he would be withdrawing 15,56,000 per month, adjusting for inflation. And look at his closing corpus, 40 crore 28 lakh 35,223. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And as I said, if you are interested to access that spreadsheet, I've left the link to access it in the description, so you can check it out and you can run your own numbers and figure out your own target retirement corpus goals and exactly how much you need to start investing today to get to your dream retirement. So if you have any suggestions or comments or any burning NRI topic that you want me to cover in detail, please do let me know in comments. So this is all I had to cover for this video. I'm going to see you soon in another superb interesting video. Till then, you take good care of yourself. This is me Pratik signing off from NRI Wiz. Over and out.